The mice did not overanalyze things to the mice, the problem and the answer. And the answer were both simple. The situation at Cheese Station C had changed. The situation at Cheese Station C had changed, so Sniff and Scurry decided to change. They both looked into the maze. Then Sniff lifted his nose, Sniff and nodded to Scurry, who took off running through the maze, while Sniff followed as fast as he could. They were quickly off in search of new cheese. Later that same day, him and Haw arrived at cheese station C. They had not been paying attention to the small change that had been taking place each day. So they took it for granted their cheese would be there. They were unprepared for what they have found. What? No cheese? Ham yelled. He continued yelling, no cheese, no cheese, as though if he shouted loud enough, someone would put it back. Who moved my cheese? He hollered. Finally, he put his hand on his lips. His face turned red, and he screamed at the top of his voice. It's not fair. Paul just shook his head in disbelief. He too had counted on finding cheese at Cheese Station C. He stood there for a long time, frozen with shock. He was just not ready for this. Him was yelling something, but Haw didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to deal with what was facing him, so he just tuned everything out. The little pupil behavior was not very attractive or productive, but it was understandable. Finding cheese wasn't easy, and it meant a great deal more to the little pupil than just having enough of it to eat every day. Finding cheese was the little pupil way of getting what they thought they needed to be happy. They had their own ideas of what cheese meant to them depending on their taste. Some people finding cheese was having material things, for other it was enjoying good health or developing a spiritual sense of well-being. For her, cheese just meant feeling safe, having a lovely family someday, and living in a cozy cottage on Cheddar Lane. To him, cheese was becoming a big cheese in charge of others and owning a big house atop Camembert Hill. Because cheese was important to them, the two little pupils spent a long time trying to decide what to do. All they could think of was to keep looking around cheeseless station C to see if the cheese was all really there gone. If the cheese was really gone. While Sniff and Scurry had quickly moved on, Ham and Haw continued to him and Haw. They rented and rave. They ranted and raved at the injustice of it all. Haw started to get depressed. What would happen if the cheese wasn't there tomorrow? He had made future plans based on this cheese. The little people couldn't believe it. How could this have happened? No one had warned them. It wasn't right. It was not the way things were supposed to be. Ham and Haw went home that night hungry and discouraged, but before they left, Haw wrote on the wall, the more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it. The next day, Hem and Hall left their homes and returned to the cheese station C again, where they still expected somehow to find their cheese. The situation hadn't changed. The cheese was no longer there. The little people didn't know what to do. Him and Hall just stood there immobilized like two statues. Him shut his eyes as tight as he could and put his hand over his ears. He just wanted to block everything out. He didn't want to know the cheese supply had gradually been getting smaller. He believed it had been moved all of a sudden. Him analyzed the situation over and over, and eventually his complicated brain with its huge belief system took hold. Why did they do this for me? Why did they do this to me? He demanded, what's really going on here? Finally, Ho opened his eyes, looked around, and said, by the way, where are Sniff and Scurry? Do you think they know something we don't? Him scoff. Him scoff. What could they know? Him continued, they are just mice. They just respond to what happens. We are little people. We are smarter than mice. We should be able to figure this out. I know we are smarter, Hall said, but we don't seem to be acting smarter at the moment. Things are changing around here. Hey, maybe we need to change and do things different.